Hello, Bob. We're on the air.
Well, it's been a bit of a hiatus, but I guess it's good to be back.
Well, did you have a nice holiday?
Very good. Yeah. Recharged the batteries, even though they weren't rechargeable, and it was good.
Well, you haven't missed much. Business as usual.
It sure looks like it. Yeah. I
Uh,
was looking at the Border Hawk news there, and a couple of things just really stuck out in my mind. You've got a bunch of demoralized uh, Border Patrol agents, Texas Department of Public Security's exhausted, and doesn't take very long to read through to see just what they're facing with. And then on top of that, a few lines down that Homeland Security is going to eliminate collective bargaining for immigration customs enforcement agents. You want to talk about demoralization to the nth degree on top of being exhausted and run off their feet, and now they got no protection. That doesn't make a lot of sense.
well, it does if you, as you said before we went on the air, it looks like a union busting.
It sure looks like it. Yeah. It's kind of like the previous president who decided the guys that protect his life uh, didn't need to have collective bargaining either.
Well, I'm just looking at that. You're looking at 6,800 immigration and customs enforcement agents who would not have a union representing them. This is
Yeah.
according to the Washington Times. American Federation of Government Employees, representing about 700,000 federal government employees, was given a green light by President Biden's Federal Labor Relations Authority to eliminate the National ICE Council from its membership. So now thousands of ICE agents, once represented by the union, will have no collective bargaining agreement with Homeland Security. If that's not enough to you know demoralize you, as you said, what is?
Well, it kind of makes me also wonder what protection will they have now? It seems to me like most law enforcement agencies, it doesn't matter what they do, it's wrong. So if they've got nobody to support them or back them up, what is that going to do to their um, ethos, I guess?
Well, it begs the question. Is there really a need for a border agency if you don't have a border that you want to maintain?
Yeah.
There's a blog on that very same site where it's claimed that if there's no longer a border crisis, then there obviously is no border. When you have well over 1 million illegal border crossings into the United States, not just from Mexican nationals, but from well over 100 different countries,
Mhm.
nationals have been picked up on the U.S. Border. So it's most peculiar that you do this effort to also get rid of collective bargaining for the people who are under who are responsible for this authority to manage the border, and at the same time, if you ask if the or if you read the press reports from Washington, there's no border crisis. Well, that's peculiar. There's like a lot of dots here that are easily connected together, and you have to come to certain conclusions that maybe the policy of the United States is to have no border in the South anyway. They
Mhm.
certainly are busy making sure the northern border has all sorts of impediments working in both directions,
Mhm.
curiously.
Yeah. Well, you've alluded to it in previous talks too, with the if there isn't a need for a border, then let's do this whole hog and just remove everything, and people can travel back willy nilly, and let's just see how far that approach goes.
Well, this chat we're having today, we could call it the American edition of the BORDERPOL Journal, specifically because the things that are going on with the border matters in North America are evidently part of a concerted effort by policymakers in Ottawa and Washington to dismantle any kind, at least seems anyway, to dismantle as much as possible any machinery that would be an impediment to cross-border migration.
Mhm.
Yet at the same time, on the northern border, we see impediments to stop tourism. So it's okay if you're an undocumented migrant, willy-nilly, no problem. You can cross into Canada or into the U.S. because that's all right. But if you're a tourist wanting to watch a ball game in Toronto from the U.S., or if you want to go, down to Florida, there's all sorts of impediments in your way. It seems to me that it's counterproductive on the one hand, and very much a different mindset being emphasized with regard to the border
That's right. Yeah.
between two countries that really aren't problems for each other.
Mhm. Well, it goes back. You were mentioning the other day about the survey or the poll that you saw, where 1 in 4 CBSA agents here in Canada, the equivalent of the ICE people, uh, have been reported or purportedly reported that they are
Discriminating against,
discriminated.
yeah,
Yes.
particular groups. And this was a survey done by the government for the CBSA. They suggested that a survey of some 900 frontline officers and management, 25% saw some sort of discrimination being practiced by their colleagues. And I'm astounded. First of all, okay, if that's true, if the allegation is correct, then the CBSA has some serious uh, uh, explaining to do as to how come no one said anything about this. I mean, you did a survey to find out that 1 in 4 of your colleagues is essentially perhaps a racist. This is
Well, I kind of been thinking,
mind-boggling.
I've been wondering about that too, though, Tom. Is it 25% have seen activities that they
Well,
would consider
it looks
racist?
like, yeah. If you read well, what was reported in the press was as hearsay. Someone in the survey, it looks like the question was, I saw one of my colleagues do something I didn't like in terms of discriminating against but one particular
Yeah.
group. And I'm thinking, well, what the heck kind of survey is that? You saw someone? Well, if you saw something like that, why didn't you say something?
Well, that to me is the bigger issue. Was it of the 100 people, 25 saw the same one guy do something wrong, or is it, you know,
Well, the question is, why are you doing it internally? Why are you releasing this information externally
Mhm.
before having any particular? I mean, think about this. If you had 1/4 of your staff that are allegedly acting like this, that's a very there's something seriously wrong. You have to disband that outfit. I mean,
Yeah,
what kind of organization has 1/4 of its staff acting like this? I mean, it's shocking. Moreover, what was the logic, or why was this survey taken?
yeah,
Clearly, someone thought there was a reason to do the survey, and then once you've done the survey and you come up with some pretty startling allegations or results, then
mhm.
you go and release it to the public through the media. Well, to what end? Because there's so much other stuff that the government embargoes or redacts when you ask questions, and all of a sudden this one seems peculiarly open. Okay, and so why? I'm sorry. I would look at this is jaundiced a view of this as I have with the ArriveCan program, where some guy in California has a $14 million contract handed to him, and when reporters go looking for the well, who is this company or this person, you end up finding out that it's a contract for $14 million that had no competitive process attached to it. Moreover, when they check to see where this company is located, they end up with at some cottage, in a post box in California, and you
Yeah.
go, what are we talking about here? And this particular program is having a terrible negative impact on tourism, on commerce, and you go, okay, who is if you're going to release things like the business of how many officers
Naked
practice
people that are on the
discrimination.
border.
Why
Yeah.
don't you tell me, or tell the public rather, what who drove this idea with this ArriveCan thing? Because there's inconsistency here on policy and thinking, and it really makes you wonder whether the left hand knows what the left hand is doing, much less what the right hand is doing
Yeah.
in this particular setup.
I kind of wonder if this now goes back to what we were talking about before. Are they trying to discredit the Canadian side as well as the US side? And if the US side already has demoralized employees and they're going to take away collective bargaining, is this maybe just a step worked out between two governments to try and eliminate the border people? I don't know.
Well, it's it is rather bizarre. It's just as bizarre as we stay with the Americas, or at least the so-called American edition today. Is this headline that Elon Musk, is angry with the media over the border crisis, that's no attention, and that's true. Maybe you and I are having this discussion, but unless you watch, some of the more right of center newscasts from the states. Certainly nothing from Canadian press reports nothing on what's going on in the southern border. Just of no interest. At the same time, he says that there's harrowing footage of the American southern border and what's going on, and you don't it gets a scant attention. In fact, when it comes down to it, it turns out that even the president of the United States doesn't go to the southern border and has never been there. And you go,
Mhm.
seriously? Now, yeah, it's easy for us to be sitting here doing the armchair criticism, but honestly, that is just, beyond the pale. Your country's being inundated with hundreds of thousands of migrants. And they're saying as of August 14th, over 500,000 have crossed into the Eagle Pass, Texas area,
Yeah.
and it's big news. It's big news on some networks that the Texas and other states are shipping a couple of busloads of these people to New York, and the people in New York and some other northern cities are all upset. Meanwhile, millions are literally occupying the southern half of the U.S., and that's not news.
Yeah.
It's just it just it's you
Well,
you can't make this stuff up.
no, you can't. And you sit back and wonder, or is it becoming so big a problem that nobody knows how they're going to fix it? So it's just better to be like an ostrich and put your head in the sand.
Well, I mean, the numbers are astounding. 200,000 illegals were encountered at the southern border in the month of July. I mean, that's a small sized city. 2,200 illegal crossings in 24 hours in the Del Rio sector in 24 hours. This is, in any other thing, you would call this an invasion.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah. Wow.
it's you just can't wrap your heads around the numbers, and some of the sort of the effects which are coincidental, rise in crime, cost of living, schools, too many kids in schools, not enough teachers. I mean, you're just talking about these numbers are overwhelming. The civil societies or the receiving communities where these people are going, and this can't end well, because no matter how much pent up, or I should say pent up, but a milk of human kindness. No matter how much you have, after a while, that goes sour because it's never ending, and there's no interest in dealing with finding housing, jobs, and so on, and the stresses and strains on these communities. Even the most progressive and positive people will say, look, there's a limit to this largesse. It's,
Yeah.
it's, it's
Well, coupled with that, the US, like here in Canada, like anywhere you want to go in the world, there's only one taxpayer. And that money is going to have to come from that one taxpayer for three levels of government. And somewhere along the line, something's going to break. And, going back to the fact that they're going to take away collective bargaining from the ICE agents, is that just a start to say, well, we can't really fix it, so let's just get rid of this, and maybe they'll all quit. Who knows?
Oh, how about this one? Another headline that's here is: a New York to house illegal homeless in famous Times Square's hotels. You're going to pay $600 a night to spend a night in New York, and next door they're putting homeless people on your floor, and this is a 5-star hotel. Now, obviously, the homeless issue and the immigration undocumented immigration issue, or there are some bits and pieces that fit together here. But to start putting illegals and homeless together into 5-star hotels, what better signal to send down to cartel people? Hey, by the way, if we get you to New York, you get to stay in the Hyatt Regency. All
Funded by me, the taxpayer.
Yeah, it costs you nothing. I mean, and I'm sure that the trolls who are watching our broadcast will just lose it because they think we're aiming, the criticism at the unfortunate homeless and
No,
undocumented. But I mean, think about this. I mean, this.
well, yeah. I've often thought, I've never been in a situation. I hope I never am in a situation where I would be as desperate as these people are. Uh, but the issue goes well beyond them. It goes to the organizations that are taking advantage of them. So, and it's not just adults; it's the children. We were having a chat the other day with one of our members, and talking about child exploitation and the like. And this all fits into this, that if you don't have the people in place to watch for this, to intercept, to document, you may as well just throw your hands up in the air and be like an ostrich and stick your head in the sand.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping that we can get that gentleman on one of our podcasts soon to talk about precisely sort of the senior parts that are so effectively covered up by the media and even the governments involved, because what he told us was pretty
Shocking.
disgusting. Moreover, the efforts, to save, particularly minors, from the clutches of the traffickers, is down to into NGOs having to do this. I mean, why are NGOs suddenly being involved in law enforcement?
Yeah.
Again, you can't make this up.
No.
This should be the responsibility, full tilt, of the law enforcement community. How pathetic is it that we now have to have individuals, private individuals, essentially establishing themselves as quasi law enforcement to do what the official border management law enforcement community is
Can't or
paid
won't
to do.
do. Yeah.
It is, it's just disgusting. I'm sorry, but I hope we can have him on soon because it was revealing, as you say.
Well, yeah, and again, talking about public agencies, there was a comment made where these people are paying out of their own pockets because there's no money.
That's right. There's no
So
money.
you know, it's a sad state of affairs, and you know,
No,
they get
and
to that point.
here in this part of the world where there shouldn't be really hungry people or homeless people. This is a very wealthy part of the world. This is a civilized, what was a well-functioning economy. You
Mhm.
know, lots of safety nets built in for all sorts of communities. And you
Mhm.
look at this and you go, why is this one completely ignored? And you can't
Well,
tell me it's COVID, and you can't tell me it's you know the restructuring of government. You can't tell me there's you know a whole new approach to because of globalism. Whatever. This is nonsense. This is complete and utter incompetence. Whether it's because of how these policies were created by incompetent people or run by incompetent people, or what is the end game here? Because I don't understand why in such a short space of time they want everything to be turned upside down. Because
mhm.
what we used to have in North America, both in Canada, the US, we had a rather well functioning immigration selection. So it wasn't perfect, no one's suggesting that. But you know, people got in line and they got their visas and you know a lot of the success, if not all the success of these two countries is based on immigration. But they
Mhm.
seem to be wanting to throw all this out the door and you know have kind of a dystopian approach to stuff. The
Well,
last couple of years, it's become really evident there's something's not right here. At least to old
yeah.
guys like us who've seen, you know, some of this stuff for some years.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm kind of thinking the self-selected immigrant class is probably the way to go.
Self-selected, yes. So I'm a self-selected asylum seeker, self-selected immigrant, self-selected professional. I know all that stuff.
Uh,
Well, anyway,
but anyway,
that's
yeah, my sympathies are going out to the ICE agents. You're well in over your head. It doesn't look like you get any support, and I sure
well,
hope
they
that
have our
your
support.
heads come to prevail.
So if any of our colleagues in CBP or CBSA are watching this American edition of the Border Poll Journal, let us know because you know we share we share their angst and we share their frustration, and if we can help in some small way to get people to start understanding what the problem is and then dealing with it at the political level, because I cannot see this you know being an open-ended policy, because
Yeah,
in the end it fails everybody.
yeah, very much so. But I don't know.
Yeah, well, you know, it really is quite interesting when you talk about the downstream results. One of the things I was reading today in the paper was a survey that was done. This is a Canadian survey. How about nobody watches hockey games anymore? That's an exaggeration, but they were saying that fewer and fewer people watch hockey on the media. And one of the actual survey indices was because, well, in the last decade or so, so many people have immigrated to Canada from countries where they don't watch hockey. You know, it's soccer or
Mhm.
football, as they say in Europe, or basketball or baseball. You know, these are games that are much more interesting to our new uh,
Rivals, yeah.
residents to Canada than hockey. And certainly in from the urban areas, if you look at large urban areas, you know, kids don't play hockey. There's no the teams are folding, they're dwindling because there's not enough kids interested. It's a demographic reality.
Mhm.
Okay,
And it's costly.
and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And so, you know, once
Um,
again, you can see the unintended consequences of a large, you know, immigration program and I'm not saying that this was a program that is not managed, although when our current government in Canada is talking about astronomical numbers of migrants to be brought in year on year, no one talks about what jobs they'll take, but that's for another show. But the business of, okay, so what is their interest sports wise? It's not playing hockey. Ice hockey for the people from Southeast Asia is an unknown quantity. Ice hockey for people from Africa is an unknown quantity. And so there's no surprise here that they will gravitate towards sports that is of interest to those communities.
Which means that we're probably going to have to learn the rules of cricket soon.
And cricket, exactly. Although the argument with that would be that that started off in England. Who knows? Uh,
Yeah.
but
Oh,
it's I guess it's just like I say, a lot of this stuff is reality, and people ought to get with the program. That's just the way it is.
very true.
But
Very, very true. But
anyway, there's a couple of little items on our board here that usual stuff from overseas that we get from particularly the European ticker. Couple of items. 20,000 migrants have gone into the UK by boat from Europe. they just they don't take the Channel tunnel or anything. They just go off and hang on.
yeah,
So, right in the middle of our conversation here, the phone rings. What was the other one?
once again, a couple of things there. Ireland is full. Czechs storm into Poland for cheaper shopping and gas. I'm thinking this could be just about anywhere on the southern Canadian northern US border as well. So
That's right. And then there's the other one, illegal border crossings up in the EU from the 86% and from the Balkan route 205%. Again, astronomical numbers.
yeah,
Unbelievable.
certainly not
So
anything that we're going to solve. That's for sure.
no, but it's curious that people don't really aren't paying much attention. And of course, the whole situation in Europe with Ukraine, where Ukraine is in the war there is now on the back pages. People getting tired of hearing about that, and that's it's sad, certainly for the people who are affected because
Hmm.
their homes are being destroyed, or they have to leave because either the Ukrainians are shelling the Russians, or the Russians are shelling the Ukrainians. Everybody seems to be losing there. It's a long and a dirty story going back some time, and maybe one day we'll talk about that. But certainly, it's not on the front pages anymore here,
Yeah.
there's other issues coming up.
Well, that's right. I think it goes back to that old saying, why can't we just all get along?
That would be nice.
Hmm.
Well, I think we're running out of time here, partner, but another week will go by, and I'm sure we'll find more to talk about next week.
Yeah, because as much as we would like to, we just can't make this stuff up.
No, we're maybe we should make it up. Maybe that's our problem. Maybe it'd be more fun if we made it up.
Might get a few more laughs.
Perhaps, perhaps. All right. Well, until next week, you take care, and
Have a good weekend, all.
we will. We'll try.
All
All the
right.
best. See ya.
See you later.